Hi, everybody! We're back with our first book chat of 2021 to offer recommendations for books, movies, music, and more that you can check out from the Carmel Clay Public Library. I'm Catherine, and I'm joined today by Aggie, Jane, and Kendall. Kendall, why don't you go ahead and get us started today?
Thanks, Catherine. I read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is a lighthearted space opera that follows a motley crew on a galactic adventure as they dig wormholes through space. Now, I can guess what some of you might be thinking. Kendall, I'm not into sci fi, but stay with me. So, Rosemary isn't sure what to expect when she joins the crew of the aging Wayfarer, but when you're trying to run away from your family and your past, anything will do. When she finds a group of quirky and truly unique characters, this includes Sissix, the exotic reptilian pilot, energetic engineers Kizzy and Jenks, who keep the ship running, and Ashby, their dedicated captain. Rosemary soon learns that life on the Wayfarer is a bit chaotic and wild, which is exactly what she's been looking for. The crew's been living comfortably off of contracts to tunnel wormholes through space, and when they're offered a particularly dangerous and lucrative contract by the government in the far reaches of deep space, they just can't refuse. Surprise mishaps and threatening confrontations ensue, forcing them to trust and depend on each other to survive, and leading Rosemary to think that maybe having a family isn't such a bad thing after all. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet is the perfect book for sci fi beginners. It has all of the fun characters and adventure you would want from a journey through space without all of the complicated technical jargon that turns many people away from this genre. I'm not a big reader of books about space, but I absolutely adored this story, and you will fall in love with these charming characters. At its heart, it's a story about finding family, and it's the perfect escape from reality with an ending that will make you smile. This book also features LGBTQ characters and a lot of very relevant social commentary on the treatment of differences among people in society that everyone can relate to. Anyone who's interested in lighthearted, relatable, character driven adventure should give this one a try. Fans of Martha Wells, John Scalzi, and Anne Leckie might also enjoy this book. You can check it out in print as well as ebook and audiobook formats through both Libby and Hoopla.
All right, thank you so much, Kendall. Jane, what do you have for us?
I read a memoir titled A Knock at Midnight, Brittany Barnett, who is a young Black attorney, and her mom had been incarcerated when she was a young girl. She grows up to be a corporate attorney, but then hears of a case of Sharonda Jones, a young mother who has been sentenced to life without parole for a first-time drug offense. Because she can relate to the situation and remembers the impact her mother's incarceration had on her childhood, she begins working on Sharonda's case during her off time of her high-powered corporate attorney job. While pursuing this case, her eyes are open to the injustices of the system that overwhelmingly affects Blacks. It is a riveting, inspirational memoir showing what it takes to bring hope and justice to a system built to resist them at every turn. It's available on Hoopla as an audiobook and to borrow as an ebook, audiobook, and of course in print. I hope everyone enjoys it. Aggie, what are you reading?
Well, I read one of the, I would think, biggest books of the year recently, Barack Obama's Promised Land. I guess just with everything going on this past year, it was nice to read a familiar voice, obviously well-spoken, literary, but it kind of picks up and traces the early years that we don't know as much from Obama's early days as the organizer in Chicago, but then his early campaigns that we don't really remember that much until he hit the national spotlight after that 2004 Democratic convention kind of pushed him into the spotlight. So, and it's kind of interesting because it highlights his moments with family and his marriage with Michelle and how they worked out things during some tough times during the campaigns. And I really thought that they really knew how to relate to each other. And it just kind of gives you hope because he could have given up and just been an attorney, or he had a perfect life going on, but he just really felt that he had to do something more and stick to his principles and really try to change things from the inside. So I highly recommend it. I know there are a lot of holds on it, but it is in print, large type, audiobook, and downloadable books too. So eventually we'll have so many copies that you'll be able to get it easily. I also want to mention another quirky nonfiction book I read called The Secret Life of Groceries by Benjamin Lohr. It was recommended to me by another staff member. I was a big fan of Fast Food Nation many years ago and The Omnivore's Dilemma. And this book kind of goes deep into the grocery store history of how chains began. And there's a whole big chapter about Trader Joe, who passed away late last year, and how Trader Joe's became such an independent success, how the Aldi family eventually ended up owning Trader Joe's in America, and just the plights of truckers who get that farm to the outlet. You learn a lot about what it takes just to get to those groceries to the store, or people who are trying to get a new product on a shelf and just trying to find space within those shelves. So it was a very eye-opening and interesting. If you ever go to the grocery store, you're a little overwhelmed thinking, how did all this get here? It's really interesting take at the inside of the grocery store. What about you, Catherine? I bet you've been reading a lot.
You know what? I'm so excited to share this one because it was a Hoopla find, and it was my first read of 2021, and I'm so glad I stumbled upon it in our Hoopla digital collection. And I hate to admit this because I'm really bad about it, but it was one that I clicked through to look at just based on the cover alone. It has such a great cover, and it's actually an English translation of the Japanese original, and it is called Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. And it's kind of similar to Kendall's. It has time travel, but this is not a science fiction book. If you like magical realism, you'll definitely want to check out Before the Coffee Gets Cold. There's actually a really good trailer for the 2018 movie that came out that's subtitled on YouTube. You can check out. This is a great book. If you're looking for something that is heartwarming, and I think for a lot of people too, the whole premise around this book is who would you want to spend time with or see if you could go back in time? And for those who have lost people in the last year or just miss seeing people that we can't be physically close to now, Before the Coffee Gets Cold is set in a little cafe in the heart of Tokyo, and it's been there for 100 years. And this is good coffee and something else. It has a big secret. Local legend says that this cafe offers customers the chance to travel back in time. And it has rules. So once you're in the cafe, when you travel in time, you have to stay in one special seat. You can't go outside of the cafe to go somewhere else, and you can't change anything in the present. So if you really hate time travel books or films where you get bogged down in all of the technical details, this really helps solve that problem for you because they can't change anything. So you don't have butterfly effect style things. And you also have to stay in the past for only the amount of time it takes for your coffee to get cold. So you can't stay very long. And if you really like stories that are interwoven stories, this is 4 strong female characters, and you see all the reasons why different people would want to go back into the past. And I highly recommend it as you see the journeys of these 4 women. The ebook and digital audiobook versions of Before the Coffee Gets Cold are available with no holds and no waiting period now at hoopladigital.com as an ebook in Libby and also as a print book for curbside pickup at our Merchant Square temporary library location or our Joyce Winter West branch. Thank you so much to Kendall and Jane and Aggie for their recommendations for January 2021. We hope you'll join us next time.